This is the story about harvesting my first buck ever. I was hunting, a couple places around my house, had some small bucks on camera, some decent 8 points, and I have a permission on a little private chunk of land to hunt. And I put some trail cams out, and then out of nowhere, this big buck showed up. I had put the trail cam on a tree that was kind of tilted, and I broke sticks off and put it behind the trail cam to kind of hold the cam up and down. Well, those sticks had fallen out, so it was pointed up. So I had 11 pictures after that trail cam had been out there for a week, and 10 of the pictures were pictures of raccoons up in a tree above where I put some corn on the ground. The only other picture was of the top half rack of this buck. Like that chocolate brown antlers. One of its eye guards is like pointed out 2 inches. It's got some character to it. And to me, it's just a monster. After I saw pictures of that buck on camera, I did a little more scouting around, just like, within the area, and I started seeing rubs everywhere. Like this buck had marked his territory, it had made it his home. I mean, it was just rub after rub. I'm like dead set on this deer. I'm like, I'm not hunting any of my other spots. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not gonna overpressure this, but I'm gonna hunt this deer. I'm gonna make sure that I go on the right days of the wind. So I start hunting it, and it's just doe after doe after doe in there consistently. I'm like, man, is he gonna daylight again? Because I'm getting all these pictures of him, and it's all at night. He's nocturnal. And I'm like, well, I don't want to just overpressure this area. So I go 2 afternoons in a row, don't see him. I'm gonna take a day break. Today, the weather's not good, not a lot of wind. Like, I'm just not gonna go. Well, that night at like 5:15, 5 o'clock, he's in there. A second after I saw that. And every time after that, my wife was like, you better go. Because if you don't go, show up. So that was like stuck in my head. So I started going some more, and then I checked my camera again. I get a picture of someone on the camera, right on that private chunk of land. I don't know if he came from the bike trail 200 yards away. I don't know if he's one of the, the lots next to this. I mean, there's public and private land all around out here where I live. So I just don't know where he came from. Maybe it was just a hiker. I was confused, nervous. I was like, what was he doing over there? Did he kill a buck? And for like 2 weeks, maybe even longer, that buck is just gone. I'm just thinking the worst. I'm like, he's gone. This buck is gone. It kind of almost felt like giving up. So I just leave it alone. Recently, like within the last couple of weeks, my dad had got a bow. And that little private chunk is just known. Like I have doe all over it. So I go put a blind back there and stake it in the ground for me and him to go back there. Go once for his first time. Go for a couple hours in the morning. All we saw was one spike. Well, my dad couldn't hunt for another week or two. So I was like, well, I'll hunt out here some more. Because it's convenient. If I get, if it's raining, I can go hunt in the blind, stay warm. It had been a couple days. My wife was like, why don't you go hunt in the afternoon? And you never know, that deer could show up. It's raining real hard though, but we ain't got nothing going on. Up there at like 3:30, it's pouring rain. I'm sitting in the blind for 30, 40 minutes. 3 doe come right up on me. I'm just like, okay. They're moving even though it's raining. And, I always hear stories if it's pouring that these deer, they're not moving, they're bedded down. Well, this one doe in particular came in and it obviously smelled me or something because it was on my case. It was stomping around. It would not take its eyes off, but it was waiting for one sudden movement. And unfortunately, the inside of my blind is all black. This is the one night I forgot my black face mask, and all I had was like a camo one with me. So like inside of there, that camo sticks out like a sore thumb. I'm like scared to move. I'm just like sitting still. Everything's zipped to my left and everything behind me is zipped, so it's all blacked out. So I'm kind of in the black corner trying to hide my silhouette in there. And I have the right over, I have 2 game trails right there. And every time I had pictures of the deer, they were facing up the ridge. So I thought they were coming down from the edge or the bottom, except for like a little crack so I could see out the left window. It wasn't even 5 minutes. I see these doe kind of look to the left. So I just kind of peek. And I look out the left of my blind, and I kid you not, 10 or 12 yards is that giant buck. And he's with another little 8-point that I've seen there last year, actually. And my heart just starts beating out of control, feeling buck fever for the first time. But they're coming in, and I can't really move because this doe's got me pinned down. He gets broadsided about 30 yards in front of me, and I've got the other buck here and 2 doe in front, and then one to the right you can't see on camera, but it's the one that is just on my case. I don't want to move because this right window that's right here, that's wide open, is right in the corner where I'm sitting. And my face, like I said, I didn't have a black mask. I just felt like if I moved, picked up my bow, anything, that deer was going to blow. That I do not need to pick this bow up. I was like, be patient. Maybe that doe will walk off. Maybe tonight's not the night. I watched him until it got dark and got in my truck. Talked about it. I'll play it. You'll have no idea how much discipline that just took. And the problem was this doe that came in before, the big doe, was just, it knew I was there already. It was stomping on the ground, didn't blow, but was acting weird. Could have risked it and pulled my bow back and tried to shoot that buck, and I just couldn't do it. I felt like the doe would have got me, so I just had to just sit there and watch it. It was a cool encounter. It was crazy. Well, I was trying to convince myself that being patient was the right thing. Well, later that night, I get home and I start second guessing myself. Was this my only opportunity? Am I ever going to see him in daylight again? Like, should I have pulled back? Was I just too nervous? Like, I didn't know. Wait a day or so, go again, and I see him, but he's like 100 yards away. And the only reason I got in the blind again was already out there. It was convenient. I didn't have to put my saddle up in the tree. I mean, I was just kind of being lazy. I don't know if any of you have hunted from a blind with a compound bow. It's tight quarters, pulling back, everything. You're sitting down, like chair might creak a little. Like I just started feeling uncomfortable there. I need to get out of that blind and get down to where I see these two game trails below where I just saw him walk this time. The next night I went in there and put all my sticks and my platform in the tree, bow hanger, and cinched it all in there and just left it because I knew this ice storm was coming. I think it got down to like -3 with a wind chill of like -15. I went hunting the day it snowed. It was -3 degrees outside. I was in the saddle, was in there about, don't even know if I could have pulled back that night. I was so cold. Probably saw 30 doe that day though. They were just moving like crazy. I was like, they got to. It's just too cold. They got to move. They got to eat. Went back the next night. This day was a Tuesday. We had to go to an appointment for my daughter. She has checkups every month now. She has to get a Pentam, all that kind of stuff. So we're there for 4 or 5 hours. We left the hospital a little later than we thought, and we got home about 3:45. And I was like, you know what? By the time I get dressed, get over there, I'm not gonna get in the saddle till like almost 4:20. I might as well not go. Like it's just too late. My wife was like, no, you need to go. Like he's gonna show up if you don't. I go over there and I get up and it legit is like 4:17, I think. And I get up there. I don't have my camera gear with me. Like this is the one night I don't film. Other than one camera that was in my car that was already like on like 10% battery. And I brought it with me just in case, like if the deer came right in, I could click and turn it on. 15-20 minutes goes by, nothing but birds chirping. It's 4 degrees outside, but you can see for like 200 yards because there's just snow all over the ground. And I'm sitting right above the game trail where they're walking through. I look to my right, and here he comes, like 50 yards, 60 yards. Had my camera there, probably could have poked it on real quick, but wasn't even thinking about that. You know, I was laser focused on him. I was like, tonight's the night. And honestly, I don't know, the cameras might have distracted me. Maybe I've been so shook, I moved the camera and, you know, spooked the deer off. Like I was worried about getting that deer. I'm learning too, but anybody that self-films, I would never let trying to get it on film ruin the hunt. You could do it, now I'm doing it right now. Just tell a story about it and show what clips you do have. But anyway, so he's coming in, he's at like 50 yards. And I wait for him to go behind a tree while he's walking. Just head down, I grab my bow real quick to get ready. Kind of leaning on my knee, get clipped in. I was laser focused on him. So laser focused, in fact, I didn't know that a doe had snuck up behind me. He came in and got to about 30 yards. Once he stepped behind this one big tree, I was pulling back and using that tree as kind of like something to block him from seeing me pull back as he took a step forward into my lane. To get behind, I pull 3 inches back, and I hear like 10, 12 steps behind me just scattered around in the leaves and snow. Like I just spooked something. My heart starts beating fast. I'm feeling this drawing back, and that deer stops right in my lane. Take a deep breath, sitting here, and right before I go to pull back, and it was just like bam, bam. That deer blows behind me, and I pull. I mean, it wasn't even a quarter second in between. That buck flinched, you know, before I even pulled. So I knew the shot was back, and he was kind of a little bit quartered and like 30, 40 yards, and I could just tell like, one of his legs was messed up or he was just losing a lot of blood because he was wobbling and acting all funky. Well, he runs down the ravine and falls in the creek like 60, 70 yards away. And I thought he was just sitting there dying. I'm pumped. I mean, I'm shaking so bad. I feel like I'm about to fall out of the saddle. And 30 seconds goes by maybe. And like I told you, where we hunt everywhere up here in Northwest Arkansas, especially Bella Vista area and stuff, there is bike trails everywhere. Well, about another 75 yards or so, bike trail. And it's 3 degrees with snow on the ground, mind you. These two bikers come flying through there, hollering and everything. This buck gets up below them and takes off running to the right. So I sit in the tree, calm down for a minute, kind of upset that the deer ran off, but I know he's hurt bad. So I call my wife, she doesn't answer. So I call my buddy Canaan, and my camera had like no battery. I turned it on, and Canaan answered, and I'll play the clip.
I didn't know it was behind me. When I pulled back, it flinched, and the buck took 2 steps right when I saw him fall, but I saw him pick back up.
I couldn't even speak. I'm just hyped up. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, these bikers just spooked him out of there. I get down 15, 20 minutes later, go check my arrow where I shot him. It looks like it almost does a complete passage. There's blood all over the arrow. I see some blood sprayed in the snow. I'm not gonna make the rookie mistake and go bump this deer again. I'm just gonna get out of here. So I called John, that lives over in Bella Vista, and told him about it. He's like, well, I'll meet you in the morning. I'll help you go look for it. And Canaan said the same. They both met up with me 7:30, 8 in the morning, and we went looking for it. So we get out there and we find the blood trail, and it's actually quite a bit of blood. Hit an artery or something. It was spraying everywhere. We go a couple hundred yards, and my buddy Canaan's up ahead of us, and he goes, hey, man, I just saw the coyote run down the ravine. That's a good and bad sign, you know. He came from over here to the left, so we walk not another 40 yards maybe, and there he is, laying there. They had mauled like one side of him, ribs, guts, everything, both back legs, both back straps. I mean, the meat other than the neck and front shoulders, that's all that was left. I was pretty upset, you know, obviously that's why we go out and, you know, harvest these animals is for the meat and everything, and they pretty much ruined it. We get the deer, we drag it back. I'm just pumped. I call my wife, get her to take some, you know, professional pictures of it. I'm just super stoked. I call it Big Pete's Taxidermy. And so I got this buck. It's been mauled by coyotes. I know how to field dress a deer, but I don't know how to, you know, skin it or anything. I'm wanting to get this deer mounted. It's my first ever buck. Like, all right, bring it up here. We'll take a look at it. And they helped me skin it. They said it was very close to not being able to get mounted because the cape was all tore up. And they went ahead and pried the mouth open so they could look at the teeth and see how old the deer was. That deer, they said, was around 6.5 years old at least. I'm like, no, this is low-key an MWA legend. I mean, like, most deer around here don't make it that long. So, you know, I was pretty excited about that. And they also did a score. It was around, you know, 135-inch deer. So blessed to finally have got the deer that I've been hunting. And, you know, I got my buck. That was just so awesome for me. And ultimately, I just like to thank God, you know, for giving me the opportunities to even go on these hunts. I'd like to thank my wife, you know, for allowing me to go on these hunts. And also, I'd like to thank Canaan and John for coming out, you know, and helping me track and drag that deer out. I mean, that was huge. I couldn't have done it without them. Be on the lookout for some possible late season hunts, you know, maybe some doe patrol, maybe some, you know, a buck that hadn't lost its antlers yet. I might probably even go out and do some shed hunting. And then here in the spring, we got turkey hunting and good bass fishing. So anyways, if that's it for this video, I really appreciate y'all watching. God bless. Happy hunting. Take care.